Hello, Powers Resource Center, family, friends, clients, and colleagues. I'm Tara Powers, CEO of Powers Resource Center, and today's tip of the week is about initiatives, development initiatives. I know many of you that are listening to these videos or watching these videos are in the learning and development field. You might be an executive supporting learning and development initiatives internally. You might be a trainer, an internal consultant or coach. And today's Tara's tips is on a strategy for positioning your initiatives for 2021. Because I would say anything we've realized in this pandemic is how much we need to continue to develop our skills, right? And become as agile and quick moving as we possibly can to shift direction when needed. So today I am going to go over my blueprint for your program strategy and positioning. And you can also download that right here on this page. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about strategy number one, and that is alignment. So anytime you're positioning a new program, a new development program, we really need to prepare to align that program to the big picture. And when I say the big picture, I mean company's mission. How does this program support the mission? How does it support the vision over the next 12 months or 3 years that we have? Maybe some of our strategic goals. And more importantly, how does this program align with our values? Right? That is really important. And what you're going to see are a couple really important questions here that you're going to want to be asking if you're in charge of an initiative, or let's say you're being asked to support an initiative. These are some great questions for you to ask, and I'll just go over a few of them. So a couple that I think are really important is, how is the challenge that we face and the reason we think this initiative is necessary, how is that impacting our profitability, customer service, employee satisfaction, culture? You could put anything in here, right? And are there opportunities that we are missing out on as a team or as a business because of these challenges? Here's what we're doing here. We're trying to create the need, right? We're aligning around a very important need to the business, which is very important for support if you plan to get support for your initiatives. Do we know how much it's costing us? That's another great question to ask. What will happen if we do nothing? So what will happen if we actually don't address this? And then you, if you're in charge of this or supporting it, really need to share or explain or come up with some ideas about how the initiatives and objectives for the project that you are being asked to implement or support line up with the company's vision, values, goals, and strategies, and how it can address those challenges we just talked about, costs or opportunities. Here's the risk factor if you don't do this, if you don't get alignment for your initiative, and that is then nobody's really going to understand why it matters. And when budgets get cut, this initiative will be the first to go because it doesn't align to moving the business forward. And you have to be able to defend any development program or initiatives that you're a part of and why it's critical for the business, right? It can't just be something that's nice to do. It needs to be something we have to do. So that's strategy number one. Let's look at strategy number two, and that is assess. So when we look at assessing, when we're talking about a program initiative or program strategy, you need to have data to back up your positioning of why it's important. We really need to have some benchmark data if at all possible. This could be employee satisfaction surveys. This could be customer data. This could be a retention data. This could be hiring data, right? But it needs to basically support the benefits and the results that are going to be accomplished by implementing your initiative. So now, what if you don't have any data? What if you actually don't have data? There's a lot of amazing data out there in the market. McKinsey produces tons of great information and data about learning and development. The Association for Talent Development has data about how it's impacting people's ability to lead if they're not getting coaching. Any initiative that you're trying to put forth, you want to back it up with data. And you can ask a few questions, which we've listed here. What measurable impact would you expect to see first if this was helping to address the issue? And then sharing that data with whoever the key decision makers are and what other top companies or competitors might be doing. And if you apply that same data to your organization, how much money is it going to save you? The risk factor of not doing some type of assessment, not having data to back up your plan, is that basically you'll have a hard time validating the program or a hard time to get money for it to continue in the future. And you're really flying blindly when you're trying to prove the program's results, because what are you benchmarking them against, right? So very important. Step number 2, or strategy number 2, when you're positioning an initiative, is assessing and having data. Strategy number 3 is addressing, right? So you need time to actually write up a plan and taking into account everything you've learned in the alignment phase and in the assessment phase, and how you will design your program strategy, success measures, how you're going to communicate it out to the company, and how you're going to roll it out. Maybe you're going to pilot it first with a small group and get feedback, and then you're going to adjust, right? Maybe you're going to roll it out to everyone at once. How are you going to do that? So there's some great information here about the type of things you should be talking about and asking. And the risk factor, if you don't put together a plan to address all the questions people have. How is this aligned? What data do you have in place? How are we going to know it's successful? How are we rolling this out? How are we communicating it? Who are the champions, right? All the information that needs to go into the project plan needs to be put in this third strategy. And if you don't have it, you're really dooming yourself from the start, right? If your program doesn't address these key issues we've been talking about, these key questions that the decision makers are going to have, then you can expect not a lot of support, a lackluster rollout, resentment, even sabotage from key stakeholders in the company that you need their support, right? If they haven't been involved in the planning, they're not on board, they didn't get to ask questions, they didn't give input. People are generally going to be confused. They got too much going on. They're not going to support the program. So definitely your third strategy here is to address why the program is important. Write it up. Make sure you have a communication plan. Make sure you have support. And that is all laid out in a project plan. All right, let's look at strategy number 4, which is act, right? We got to take action. So we've aligned, we assessed, we gathered data, we've put together a project plan and addressed all the questions people might have and how this is going to look when we roll it out. Strategy number 4 is taking action. This is where we execute, right? This is all about execution. And it's where many plans fail. This is where the rubber hits the road. Once the rollout gets underway, this is where you absolutely have to have some internal champions for your program to help promote the benefits, sell the program, get people excited about it, get people on board. And with every step of the way, you want to be tracking and communicating. Is it working? What success are people having? What adjustments are we making? What feedback are we collecting? And then how are we incorporating that feedback to make it better? If you don't take action and implement programs effectively, then you risk having a bad rollout. And your program can get lost in the noise of any other competing programs or priorities. And other priorities will just take over, right? You will not get the support that you need. You will not get the attendance you need. And before long, your program will be forgotten. It will lose momentum. So make sure your execution strategy is solid, that you have the right people in place to help support you during rollout. And then the 5th strategy is adjust. So this is where we look at all of our data and feedback throughout the program, and we figure out where we need to actually change. right? Where do we need to adapt? Where do we need to tweak? Maybe we need more support. Maybe there's a part of the program that's not adding value anymore because we changed business direction this year. You have to be willing to adjust, right? And you have to be willing to adjust quickly and on the fly sometimes, right? Maybe during rollout, we're adjusting. That absolutely has happened. So you really want to be thinking about, how are we going to adjust? How do we set ourselves up for adjusting as soon as we're getting that feedback? One of the biggest issues or risk factors of not being prepared to adjust and adapt is just lack of sustainability and credibility, right? Lack of sustainability and credibility. If you fail to listen to the initial feedback and make adjustments, and instead just keep plowing ahead, this is what we agreed to, this was our plan, this is what we had approved, and this is what we're doing, your results are not going to be long term. They're going to be short term. Your credibility is going to be on the line, and you're going to have low impact in terms of behavioral change, leadership development, business growth, right? Especially if we've tied that to business outcomes, because you were not willing to recognize things that weren't working and adjust accordingly. So, those are our 5 key strategies for positioning any program that you have in 2021. Think of this as a blueprint for you and your team. Any initiatives that you're considering rolling out next year, I hope that you sit down with this blueprint and talk it over as a team. Have we done all of these strategies? Have we thought of all of them? Have we discussed all of them? Do we have the right people in the room to discuss all of them? This is how you make sure that your initiatives, your development initiatives, your growth initiatives, your initiatives to support your teams and people make the difference that you want them to make. And I know that's why all of us are here, right? It's to make a difference. So I hope that this is helpful. As always, please reach out and let us know if you've used this, you've talked about this blueprint, it was helpful to you. It just lets us know we should keep doing more of what we're doing for all of our community. Thank you. Happy holidays. Stay safe.